Welcome to the Susan Brender Show. It's all about you, featuring shows on health and wellness, the performing arts, politics, and people who inspire you to be your very best. And now, here's Susan Brender.
Back in my day, to become an author, you had to master your craft. You needed a team that you could trust, a team that would never flinch in battle. Back in my day, you would risk losing your rights and pay outrageous amounts for terrible service. Well, yesterday is not today. Gladiator Publishing Company has a century-long reputation for defending writers and readers and winning awards for their record-setting low-cost services and market sales. They are 75 to 80% more cost-effective and never touch your royalties or copyrights. Go with a publisher that is so transparent that they have their contract on their webpage. Have your book treated with honesty, loyalty, and respect, period. Visit us at gladiatorpublishing.com or text us at 417-291-9162.
I'm Susan Brender, and this is the Susan Brender Show. Today, a friend of the Susan Brender Show is here again to talk about politics. His name is Andrew J. Schatkin, and he's published books of general philosophical essays. One book is titled Essay on the Christian Worldview, and has been bought by major international universities all over the world. He's also done other things, too. He's a real person who believes in human rights, and he really follows virtually everything. A very bright guy, and I want to welcome you, Andrew, to my show again, because it's a pleasure to have you on.
Susan, I'm very happy to be on your show. I'm glad you are giving me the opportunity to hopefully say a few things that will be helpful, at least to clearing the clouds, which are created by many people in our society, unfortunately.
Unfortunately is right. Now, let's think about the possibilities. If you, I'm going to put you in this position.
Mm-hmm.
If you had your choice of how you would like to see the government and whom you would like to see running the government, who would that be?
You know, that's a very difficult question to answer because there are many views and perceptions about people that may not be correct. For example, many people would say, I want a person extremely well educated from an Ivy League university. My person might say that. Well, I'm not sure that I would assume that person is qualified in that sense. They may have that degree, but I don't know that person. What do I look for in a person in political office? Most of all, I want to know about their character. Are they honest? That, to me, is an imperative quality.
Okay, but this is the issue. You just mentioned something about how they are honest. How does one determine? The average person. I'll give you an example of this. Right now, people in Florida are going to vote for judges. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, they don't know who the heck the judges are. They don't know what their role is. They have no idea, and what they do if they're going to vote, and that's a big if they are going to vote, then what they usually do is ask somebody else who may know something about politics. Who are you voting for? I'll vote for the same person. Well, this is what happens in politics. If I hate to say this, but if you're a certain religion, for example, they'll vote for you because of your religion, or if you're...
They may, yes. In our society, you're right, Susan, about that one. Because of this media blitz, you got to be good looking.
Yeah, isn't that ironic that for a politician you have to be good looking?
Well, look at Susan Franklin. I don't think this would ever happen. I don't think so. Franklin Roosevelt was a disabled man in a wheelchair. I don't think the person like that in our modern media-dominated society could get elected.
Could you imagine that? All right, so let's get into some of the things that are happening right now. Like Manafort, who was a Trump advisor, has been shown to be guilty. And people, first of all, I didn't even know who Manafort was, to be honest with you. And I hate to say that as the...
I didn't know that much about him either.
You didn't know either, right?
No.
Okay. All right. Now, it was a test that Mueller, who was Trump's right-hand man, found out. And now it's on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, and they're talking about why is it that people like this who have so much power, why is it that they do the things that they do to kind of corrupt their opportunities to continue doing good for the citizens of our world?
Susan, that is an extremely difficult issue to handle. I can only say this. I can say this much. The president, and I'm not taking a political position about President Trump. I'm just making a statement. He has been. Many people will say to me, look how he's been attacked. And they wonder why it's occurring. And just like his administration, they will say, look, these people are terrible. See, the issue, people have to understand the nature of our political system and what may be actually occurring beneath the surface. Yes, his administration and the president are being attacked, but they are being attacked while they're in office, and we have not been told the source of the attacks. But I can say this much: he is being attacked, in my opinion, and these members of the administration. I don't know whether they're guilty or not. The criminal justice system has operated. I respect it, but I say this much: these attacks, in my view, emanate from political opposition, who I said, and I say this again, this is the political system is concerned with power exchanges, and the Democrats at this point in time in our society are not doing well. Therefore, they are attacking to get back.
Well, okay, all right. So I hear you, and I understand what you're saying. But let's continue. Now, there's a second person, Mr. Cohen, Michael Cohen, who's in court because he too has been sort of indicted, if you will, for giving the president or saying that the president told him to pay women. I mean, he's in office now for how many months, and now all of this is coming out. What's going on here?
Susan, I wish I knew, but I would like to know the source of these statements, who's saying it about him, who these people are, where they're operating from. I want to know more than just the surface situation I presented with. This is a bad guy. Well, maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Maybe he's the source of political attacks, whatever you want to say, for a reason that we don't know.
All right. Something...
I'm not prepared to say that people are guilty, automatically guilty. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. They've been found guilty. I grant you that. They've been found guilty. That's all I can say.
Okay. All right. But, you've written philosophical essays. Let's sort of jump back for a moment. And what were your philosophical essays about? Did you deal with...
I'd like to talk about this because, can I pick up on what you just said to me? Many things are said on a political basis, as I say, for the reason I indicated. I mean, for example, one example is, anti-Semitism. Now, the source of that, which worked for the German government for some years under Hitler, the source of that was getting power. He used that as a method. He tapped on it, anti-Semitism, correct? He tapped on it, and he got into office. Correct? The political system will use anything. Not everything in this country, but a lot of things are used for that purpose.
Now, you've studied all of this, and I'm interested in having you tell our listeners why did you choose to write philosophical issues and to also do essays on religion?
Well, because I have a degree in this field, an MDiv in biblical languages and thought, and what leads me to do that is I think American society, let me say this country, intellectual activity, I don't say that it is not respected in the United States, but our society is not really, that's not the culture right now. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. All right. So getting back to the whole notion of corruption, getting back to the notion of people and power, if you had an opportunity to sit down, I want to pretend for a minute, if you could sit down, say, with Trump, or if you could sit down with some of his advisors, what would you talk about?
I would talk about the necessity. I think that we all, I would say this, we all are morally failed in some respect. We might be selfish, we might be egotistical, we might be prejudiced against certain groups. We all share degrees of moral failing, including myself. So I would say to them, I would like that you would be able to some extent, bring this country on the road to a more moral society, which would include, for example, a social safety net for people who are economically distressed, but it would also recognize the fact, which is why I think Trump is correct, that we have to run a secure country with secure borders. So I would say that I want you to draw the middle line between, yes, having a social net and helping people who are distressed and economically disadvantaged. At the same time, we have to run a country with borders and with legal citizens.
Well, that brings up a very interesting topic, and that's the topic of immigration. But what do you do about the jobs that are empty? Because these people, say the people coming from Mexico as an example, they do the jobs that other people in this country will not do. Why not give them an opportunity?
Because you're suggesting, I respect your point of view, Susan, I'm not arguing with it, but we cannot have a society where these people, the corporate and business sector may want illegal people as cheaper and no benefits labor. But the result is that we have a country where illegal status is given an imprimatur, so to speak. Also, you're assuming that legal people don't want those jobs. Yes, the business may want the cheaper labor and the no benefits. That's great for them. But we have to have a country in which the legal people maybe can work for higher wages and have benefits, which is what the business people should really do.
So that's an interesting point that you're making, Andrew. But, again, I want to get back to this whole thing of human rights. Human rights should be protecting everybody. Because we have to understand, and believe me, I understand why you say, well, is it our responsibility to cover the medical costs or whatever? But you know what? Now they're actually doing it. If you're say an illegal immigrant, and you call up a hospital and you say, I broke my finger, okay? You could get an ambulance to pick you up, take you to the hospital, and it's the hospital's responsibility to handle you. Now, that is, to me, a travesty because people take advantage of the system. But
no question about it.
But what do we do about these people?
Susan, we live, and you live, and we live in a country in which people have to obey the law. As I said to you at one point, if I don't pay my taxes, and maybe I could say I don't have the money, or I don't have a great deal of money, please let me proceed. Well, it's too bad. I mean, then the recourse would be for that me or you to go out and work and get the money to pay. I do not think we can have a society where law breaking is excused or allowed or manipulated.
Or manipulating that.
Manipulated is the term.
Now, people have compared us, our situation here in America, to places like Australia, which you've actually done a lot of research and actually written it beyond. They say, well, look in Australia, and this time I'm going to bring up another point, and this is gun control. Another issue that the government is at, well, how should we say, the government is dealing with or trying to deal with, because a lot of people don't believe in people having guns. And yet they say, oh, yeah, well, in Australia, the gun situation has gone down and crime has gone down, and why not here? And how do you answer that?
That is a very difficult question to answer. But maybe it's possible we should have more control on the purchase of weapons. But on the other hand, I have to say this. A person who wants a gun illegally to commit a crime, Susan, can very easily get it. A criminal has no difficulty in getting a gun. So I don't assume that the ability to buy guns has resulted in this prison situation that we have. I have a law degree, and I know this much, that people who are inclined to commit a crime or do hurt or damage to other people or their property can extremely easily obtain that weapon illegally.
Well, I can't agree more, actually, and I know that the people who are listening to the show might get very upset with me because we have people across the board. Some are liberal and some are left of left and some are right of right or whatever. But let's talk about one more thing, and that is, what are the issues that are most important to you, and what solutions do you propose?
Susan, I have to say this, and I hope our Muslim brothers will not be offended, because I don't mean to. They're as individuals, they're no doubt very fine people. But I have to say this: I don't believe that within certain countries, within their culture, it's quite evident. On a massive worldwide scale, they are out to do violence and possibly obtain conquest. I think the Muslim history has a history of doing this. They came out of Saudi Arabia. They came across North Africa, massacred all Christians and Jews. They were at the gates of Vienna in 1500. They were at 750 in France. They killed 2 million Armenians. I don't say they're the only people to do that. Germans did it. Europeans did it. I don't say that. And I don't say all Muslim people are bad. No, I don't say that. But it's obviously a significant problem that has to be attended to. That, I think, is the issue of our day. Yeah. I think our government and our societies in Europe and here, the Western world, has to face up to this.
Yeah. All right. So say, for instance, that you ran for Congress or you ran for the Senate. You make the laws if you do that, right? If you're a senator or if you're a congressman, you're the one who makes the laws. So put yourself in the place of any one of the, people who are part of this. Now, if you had an opportunity to stand up, okay, and you say to the Congress or you say to the Senate, this is what I would like to see, what would you like to see?
I would like to see a country, the United States, we want a country which has laws, but we are not, the United States, and as a country, is not a charitable institution. There are other mechanisms in our system to do this. There are churches, there are synagogues, mosques, or whatever. There are avenues to obtain charitable relief for people. But a society and a country cannot operate on that basis. Therefore, we must have a society where people can go through the legal process of coming here, and if they commit a crime, they should be arrested. And if found guilty, they should be in jail. That's my last word.
They should be in jail. Interesting.
Yeah, if they commit a crime, sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Now, last but not least, I always like to ask my guests for the last word, and I know that you have a lot of things to say, so give our audience and give our listeners an opportunity to hear what you think.
What I think is, I want a just society, I want a fair society, I want a humane society, but I want a society which operates on a legal basis. And therefore, a person legally here who has worked to come here legally has a right to the positions and to be paid adequately in those positions that business may want to pay less and provide no benefits to people illegally here. I think I think the people legally here, they say, and many people say, that they're illegal people, that the businesses want those individuals. Sure, they want them. They're cheap. They're no benefits. Of course they want them. But the fact of the matter is, illegal people need jobs and should be paid adequately for those jobs.
And I can't help but asking the same question that I probably asked you before, which is, if people want to get in touch with you, if they want to really give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about your books and various things, how do they do that?
Email. The best thing is to send me an email. I'm very frequently on the radio. I give talks. Let me give you my email address, okay?
Sure.
a.schatkin48@gmail.com.
Now, what's in store for Andrew Schatkin?
My future is I continue to operate. I'm moving into an academic sort of work to a certain extent. I've applied for some fellowships in Harvard and Columbia. I also am a of the state Republican Party around here. My radio show is as an interview field for candidates. Those are two directions I'm moving. I can continue to write books. And Susan, let me make this clear. When I said this, I really don't have hatred or dislike of any human being, particularly ones I don't know, But so when I said that about the Muslims, I didn't mean that I was biased or disliked them. I don't. But I think our society and the Western society have to face up to this phenomenon. Yeah, it's not going away.
Yeah, I wanted to end the show, but I can't help but asking you this. There's always a scapegoat. Think about it. Always a scapegoat.
There is.
Whether it is Jews, needless
That's
to
right.
say.
It's true.
Because, and African Americans claim
right. That's true.
Yeah, and illegals,
yes.
Hispanic, they claim it's true. So, it's part of the mindset. People are always looking for these people who they, want to. They're maybe even jealous of.
Could be. It could be. You have a good point there. I'm always willing to listen, Susan. And I think you have a very valid point there of as I said, political parties and movements using racism or groups, whatever, for their own purposes. That's true. But it's and I detest it and I dislike it. But on the other hand, we have to look neutrally at the situation. This is a little different with Islam because the Jewish people were peaceful and didn't do anything to anybody. So I don't think, they may have been a scapegoat, but they were unproved to have done any harm or act of violence to anybody. Yeah. I mean, so this is a little different.
Yeah, and this is a subject that we should be speaking about in the future because, we have to kind of give information and education to our young people. Without that, you never know what's going to happen. They're not teaching civics in the school anymore for the most part. They're not giving these young people an understanding of what went on in the past. People think, they talk about, the Nazis killing all the Jews. But if you ask young people, about World War II or even Vietnam, they don't know anything about it. It's really a sad story. And I think that you and I should be discussing that in the future and maybe even bringing some of our discussions to the schools. That's what
I'd love to, Susan. Also, one of the things I think the schools know, they are not teaching They are not teaching history. They are not. And also, like I said, if you want me to talk to the schools, I'll be glad to go down and talk to these young people. And you have 100% right in that respect.
All right. Well, that's for our future when we do the show again. So thank you, Andrew Schatkin, for being on the Susan Brender Show. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Susan Brender Show. To be a guest, email sebrender@yahoo.com.